Hello, my name is John Anthony Bachmanwitz, and I'm with Safe Counseling Program, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my program. SAFE stands for Supportive Alliance for Family Empowerment. We also do business as Supportive Alliance. What determines a person's feelings? Is it something that happened or didn't happen? Is it something that is said or not said? Something that is done or not done? Something someone else believes or doesn't believe? Something another person feels or doesn't feel? Is it all of the above? Or is it none of the above? Well, my experience in doing this work is no one else can make another person do anything. No one else can make another person feel, think, do, say anything unless I let them. When I see how I let them, then I can change what I'm doing so that I no longer let them. When I think that they are making me, then they have all the power, but only because I gave it to them. And being in the second dimension, blaming them for why I'm going through what I'm going through and doing what I'm doing, and not saying that, no, it's really how I'm choosing to respond to them. And really, it's what I'm choosing to think about what happened. That's what really determines what I'm feeling. Because thoughts are like seeds. And what I'm thinking is going to affect what I'm feeling. And that's going to affect my attitude. And then that's going to affect my experience. If I gave you a tomato seed, what's it going to grow into? A tomato bush. It's not going to grow into an ear of corn. Well, if I'm having negative, fearful thoughts, those seeds are going to turn into negative, fearful feelings, and then a negative, fearful attitude, and then a negative, fearful experience. And what a lot of us do is we allow yesterday's negative, fearful experience, which is really a past wound that I haven't healed, dictate what I'm thinking, and I'm having negative fantasies about how it could happen again in the future. And I'm coming from the fear of what I don't want. So I'm having those negative, fearful fantasies about what I don't want. That causes me to have negative, fearful feelings about what I don't want, a negative, fearful attitude about what I don't want, and then a negative, fearful experience. And we don't even realize that we are creating this with our thinking. And then that causes more negative fantasies. And then we can just go down the chain, just scaring ourselves even more and more with negative, fearful thoughts, because we haven't healed that past wound and walked ourselves through it to see that it wasn't always going to be that way. There was a cause and an effect for that. Who or was it that I was blaming? What were the feelings before the anger? What did I need to do to bring love to myself in the form of the warrior cat to alleviate those primary emotions and feelings? Take responsibility for my part, forgive others and myself. Then I'm available to see the fourth dimension, how this all happens for a good reason. If we don't heal that past wound, it's going to free us up to be able to have more negative, fearful thoughts. And then our thoughts can run away with us, and we don't even realize that we're doing it if we're not being mindful. So the program helps people to learn how to be mindful of their thinking and to catch when they're having those negative fantasies. And then we have to remind ourselves, well, it's a fantasy. It hasn't happened yet. Right now, I'm okay. And then we get into the present and we deal with what I do know, what are facts I do know, not fantasies about what could happen. So when we're able to heal that wound, see, then we're able to have positive, loving thoughts about what I want. And those are going to be seeds that cause positive, loving feelings. And then that causes positive, loving attitude, and then a positive, loving experience. We're going to help to create whatever we come from. If I come from the love of what I want, I'm going to help to create the experience of the love of what I want. And if I come from the fear of what I don't want, I'm going to help to create the experience of the very thing I don't want. This is why we have to pay attention to what we're thinking. Our thoughts are very powerful. Some of the basic principles taught are fear always comes before anger. Another one is that all fear is the absence of love, and the love that is missing is love from me to me. And what a person thinks is what determines what we feel, which then determines my attitude, which then determines my experience. The experience does not determine what I'm feeling. If you don't believe this, then let's take this past year's Super Bowl. Who won the game? The Los Angeles Rams. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Super Bowl was an event that everybody saw, but not everybody thought the same thing about that outcome. If you were rooting for the Rams, you were very happy, elated. If you were rooting for the Bengals, you were down, disappointed, devastated maybe. And if you're like my wife, you could care less about either team. So it's not the experience that determines what we're feeling. It's what we're thinking about it. And if we don't take responsibility for what we're thinking, then we're going to allow things to run away with us. And then we're going to think that things are controlling us. The experiences are determining what I'm feeling, and not seeing that, no, it's what I think about the experience. That's what determines what I'm feeling. So some other basic principles taught are that E plus R equals O. The events in my life plus my response equals the outcome. And this is taken from Jack Canfield. The event is the other people, situations, or things. My response to those events is what determines the outcome. My power is in my response. It's not in trying to control the events, other people's circumstances or situations. I can control my response. I cannot control the event. If I do not like the outcome, I need to change my response, not others or the event. And then another basic principle taught is the 4 dimensions of emotional healing. So we can be reached on Facebook at Emotional Healing and Emotional Management. There's also a Twitter account, and there's a podcast called Checking In with John Anthony, Supportive Alliance, on Podbean. Or we can be reached at 215-750-0323 if you want to phone us, or an email is contact@supportivealliance.com. Another useful acronym is, if you use an algebra expression, ATFR parentheses squared, it's like saying A times A, T times T, F times F, R times R. So I acknowledge the anger, take a time out, find the fear, and then replace with "Are you a cat?" Okay. So if you have any questions, contact us, and I'll be glad to answer them to the best of my abilities. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this whole video, and I hope that you found it helpful. And if you'd like to find out more, get a hold of us. Thank you.